afternoon. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, the Heartland Institute, for this wonderful and necessary conference. I'm going to speak about the Spanish case, not only because I'm Spaniard, but also because it looks like Spain is Obama's favorite example. Just a couple of days before being just a couple of days before, 4 days before becoming president of the United States, he declared that he said, think of what is happening in countries like Spain, Germany, and Japan, where they are doing real investment in renewable energy. We have to act right now like they are, because renewable can create millions of additional jobs and entire new industries. Well, it looks like President Obama never came to Spain, never visited our beautiful, or still beautiful country, despite all the thousands of windmills and solar panels that you can find everywhere. The Spanish case, of course, you have to understand the Spanish case in the framework of the European policy. The European Kyoto cap and trade scheme claims that will reduce warming. Well, first of all, sorry, I just missed this one. You know that until now, at least, U.S. Policy has been quite different than European policy on climate. The European policy has been centered on the cap and trade scheme, deep economic regulation, and renewable energy subsidies, while in the US, until now at least, it has been more, a policy of promoting growth and pushing technology. I hope this is not going to change. The European claim is that this policy will reduce warming, will reduce CO2 emission, will be done at a very low cost, and will create jobs. The reality, not the rhetoric, is that the benefits are very low, if they are at all. The reduction of warming, as you probably know, if every country will meet its target, will be of a 0.07 degrees Celsius reduction by year 2050. This looks like almost nothing, especially if you look at the cost of it, we will see later. But the fact is that no European country has reduced effectively emissions since Kyoto was signed in 1997. It has increased, in fact. In the case of Spain, for example, the increase has been by more than 50%. And since Kyoto was signed in 1997, it is the increase of about 40%. If you do a comparative analysis between Europe and the United States, what you see is that the rate of increase of emissions of the European Union doubles the rate of increase of the US since Kyoto was signed. And if you compare Kyoto countries with the rest of the world, you see that the Kyoto countries, the rate of increase has been higher, and the increase has been higher than the rest of the world. So it looks like the benefit and the performance of the European Union, of these leaders of the climate change policy, is not working very well. Let's have a look on the cost. The Spanish government promises that it was going to be a very low cost. You know, the cost of accomplishing the Kyoto Protocol and the cost of accomplishing all this climate policy was going to be low. The Spanish environmental minister, by the time that Kyoto was, the market for allowances was put into place, Mrs. Narbona promises, quote, that the government has designed a gradual process to change the tendency, and the bill that companies will have to pay starting next year in the emission market will collectively cost a maximum amount of 85 million euros per year. This was said at the end of year 2004, just when the European Union convinced Russia to enter the protocol and before the emission trade scheme was put in place. Well, the fact is that 1 year later, the cost was 3.5 times higher than what Mrs. Narbona promise that the plant was designed for, and a couple of years later was 10, 15 times higher. Our institute made an estimate by the time and said that our estimate was that at least would be 4 billion euros. The cost, the direct cost, we are only speaking about direct cost. The indirect cost is much higher than this. But just the direct cost of buying allowances was going to be 4 billion. So between 10 and 16 times what the minister said it was going to be the maximum. PricewaterhouseCoopers estimate in 15 billion, so 35 times. And right now, the government, well, already 1.5 years ago, the government finally gave up and said that probably the cost was going to be over 3 billion, so getting very close to our initial estimation. So the lesson that can be learned from this is that the policymakers can determine cap or can determine the cost, but they cannot do both things at the same time. They cannot determine cap and determine cost at the same time. It's totally impossible. Well, the European climate policies has also several implications on jobs. Through this sort of policies, we have lost, at least in Spain, competitiveness, and we have been exporting jobs out of the country. For example, in Valencia, several companies were shut down because they were violating Kyoto Protocol, as they were trying to begin new production without greenhouse gas allowances. So they were not allowed to initiate these new industries. Other examples, for example, are companies that are moving away from Spain. The case of Acerinox is a very well-known case. Acerinox is the second largest stainless steel producer in the world, and they decided to reduce, well, almost stop all the new investment in Spain and start or increase investments in Kentucky and South Africa, because in the US and in South Africa, they would not have to face the burden of related blackouts and high energy costs that they face with the Kyoto Protocol and European energy policy. Mr. Victoriano Muñoz, who has been for 37 years the president of the company, said that he didn't like the idea of Spain paying Germany many billions in order to be able to produce and to develop our country. And he said that the Kyoto Protocol and this kind of policies would place Spain industry in a very grave situation. But you also have all these regulations necessary to make this happen, or not happen, but to try to do what politicians want to do. Here you have only a selection of some of the acts, some of the laws that the Spanish government has passed in order to try to do what the Kyoto Protocol asks to do, this reduction of emissions. You have, as you can see there, the National Plan Against Desertification, the National Plan for Polluted Land, the National Plan for Modernization of Vehicles, the Strategic Plan for Infrastructure and Transport, and many others. Despite of all these plans, we have seen that politicians have not been able to accomplish the Kyoto Protocol. In fact, we are, as I said, more than 50% over the commitment. So the cost has been huge, not only in economical terms, in monetary terms, but also in regulating all our economy. The other aspect I mentioned is the renewable policy, the renewable energy subsidies. Why renewable energy? Because they said it will help the global warming policy, because it will create green jobs, and because it is a way of stimulating the economy now that we are in crisis. Let's take a look at this. Well, I will say some things about the Spanish story, and the Spanish story is relevant because, as Obama said, Spain has been the champion of renewable energy in the recent years. The European Union wants to increase the share, as it has been mentioned, of energy from renewable sources from 12% to 12% in 2010 and 20% in 2020. And Spain has been leader in promoting this kind of energies. And in order to be leader, the government had to give some substantial benefits or subsidies to whoever got a license and was allowed to produce this kind of energy. For example, in the wind industry, you got subsidies of 90% over market price for 15 years if you make this kind of investment. And in solar industry, you had a 575% subsidy, feed-in price, in fact, over market price for 25 years and 460% for the rest of the life of the plant. These are the kind of subsidies that had been put into place in order to commit the goals. Recently, as I will show, we have cut down a little bit these subsidies because they produce a sort of bubble. So you can easily understand that this sort of subsidies have generated an industry where the return on the investment is between 12 and 20%. Who doesn't want a business like this, where the return on investment is between 12 and 20%? Everyone. Every Spaniard wanted to have an industry like this, invest in this field. So we got into trouble because then we began to have a waiting list. Everybody wanted to enter this new industry. So we created the Spanish bubble, the renewable bubble, the Spanish renewable bubble. Spanish company became world leaders, as I said, and right now we have over 26,000 megawatt installed in the special regime. The special regime is the juridical term for the renewable sources of energy in Spain. And if you take this in absolute terms, we are probably the first or one of the very first countries in the world. If you take it in relative terms, we are by far number one in the world. Wind energy has the largest share of it. This is related to what my two colleagues were saying, and with almost 15,000 megawatts. And this represents 10% of the whole electricity capacity installed in Spain. The solar energy has almost 3,000 megawatts, probably now, by now. It only represents a 0.7% of the whole installed capacity in the country. The target for year 2010 was 371 megawatts. So you see that the subsidy has worked pretty well. The leverage on in this industry to asset is 80 to 20. So you can imagine that right now, with the situation of credit, they are in big problems. And as I was mentioning, we have these strange things similar to the public healthcare. This is the waiting list. The waiting list is the fact that every Spaniard wants to enter this business. They get 50. Imagine you invest something, and I didn't mention this, but probably you get from the, well, right now not anymore, but during many years you got from the European Union or some local government in Spain 50% of the investment. You put the mills, the windmills, you put the solar panels, and then you get a 575% subsidy on the market price, and the nearer distributor have to connect you and have to buy the energy at that price. They are obliged. So what's the risk? It's fantastic. So we have this waiting list because everybody wanted to enter, but only a few were able to enter the business. Well, obviously, this big production I've shown means a lot of jobs. According to the European Union study, meet the targets, puts renewable to work, these megawatts produced by renewable sources in Spain should be around 50,000 jobs created from year 2000 until now. The solar industry claims that they have 26,000 of them. My guess is it's nearer to 14 to 15,000. But this also means, apart from these green jobs, it means also big subsidies. All the subsidies paid and committed by the Spanish government to renewable energy right now, well, in fact, to solar, wind, and hydroelectric energy, mini hydroelectric energy, is almost 29 billion euro. So if you make the math, you see that it is $500 million per green job created. Not bad. I have an idea. I have a good idea. And maybe Roger can present this at the European Parliament. You give me the billions, and I produce the jobs. For every billion you give me, I produce 2 jobs. Sounds good? Well, as you know, in fact, if you do some more math, you see that this job that you create for every billion you give me, I create 2 jobs, and I can maintain for more than 60 years over, with a salary, with a wage over the minimum wage in Spain. I can maintain this job for more than 60 years. I don't think even the windmills can promise they can maintain for 60 years, because even the plant cannot probably exist for that many years. But these resources, as you can imagine, all these resources, this huge amount of money, come from other parts of the economy. And what you see is this 50,000 green job created. What you are not seeing is what is happening to these other parts of the economy where you are taking all this resourcing, out. Well, we are about to present a new study in the coming later this month, where we have measured the jobs you are destroying for every job you are creating in this industry, and through 2 different methods we have come to the same figure, that is, for every job you try to create, you destroy 2.2 jobs, and the rest in other sectors of the economy. So it looks like, if you look at broader numbers, it is not such a good business. Who pays for this? The energy distributors, as I said. Well, another figure, the solar energy, that is a 0.7% of the installed capacity, energy capacity in Spain, gets almost 10 billion euros. So it sounds very disproportionate to me. The energy distributor have to pay the producers of renewable resources all this money. And the energy distributor cannot ask the consumer the price they wanted, because the price is regulated by the government. So they have a problem. They have a deficit. And we have what is called the tariff deficit or the energy deficit. By now, the tariff deficit that is mainly produced by renewable subsidies is 16 billion euros. Well, only the renewable subsidies in year 2007 account for almost 3 billion euros. Well, the Minister of Industry in Spain declared that the renewable energies are green and clean, but very costly. Last year, the premiums, he said, paid sum up 2,000 million, while this year is 3 billion euros. So the government, it came to a point where the government couldn't stand this anymore. We had a huge deficit produced by this renewable, and the government was not able to pay it. It asked the distributor to pay it, but the distributor answered, okay, if I have to pay this, I have to sell it in the market. I have to sell this debt in the market. And they sell the debt in the market, they tried to sell the debt in the market, and nobody wanted to buy this. So they said, look, if we have to pay this, we cannot invest anymore in new facilities. So they have stopped to invest in 4.5 billion euros investment that they were going to do. They have stopped for the coming years, because they are paying this deficit produced by the renewable system. So with this, the bubble burst, and the solar industry has fired 10,000 jobs last year. They are firing, they say, the whole industry, the whole renewable industry, they say that they are firing 40,000 employees this year, between last year and this year. So by and large, most of the employees, most of the green jobs created are going to be destroyed. This is not strange because you have to think that almost every job that is created in this industry is for installation. So if the only way to keep these figures, these nice figures, is to have an exponential growing renewable system, source of energy, production of energy. But of course, this means an exponential growing subsidy that we cannot stand. Well, the fact is that right now all the companies are the stocks of these companies are falling far more than the index, the general index in Spain. And what they are looking for is that the U.S. government would be very, at least as generous as the Spanish government used to do, and gives the money of the Americans to the Spanish industry that was artificially created by this European policy. Thank you very much.